Ja, absoluut. Dat zijn solutions. Dat is geen yeah. Nou ja, vandaag misschien dat ja, ja, als we even wat krijgen, dan kan ik zeggen dat je het wel yeah. Yeah, is that it? You don't have Good. See? Yeah.
Yes, the two are pretty.
So very low.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Long time.
Get that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So I've seen your name. I don't know if yeah.
Large things over here, if ready.
Well, actually.
It's a bit annoying. Rely I can't. Because it's trying to. On the mic.
And we're chosen positions.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, you got right.
Well, I suppose tell me something else. Something else. Yeah, that's it.
He's happening very good. Yeah.
I just said I like to live like that. How are you? What's that? That's very good.
Oh, yeah.
She also gets that.
I think you do watch, you know, but I sometimes see. So it was where I am. It's 2 degrees on the view. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, that's true. It's like watching yeah.
I'm from France and so. I'm gonna be
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, generally, that's good. It really is. Yeah.
And so he said that the
Well,
everyone was expecting.
so they get next one.
Yeah. No, anything. I came to hear that.
Well,
You know, so you didn't use five.
what's that?
It's a regular.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's a bit annoying. You can't do it. Landscape. It's just no option.
oh, it's got it's yeah. Like bands, basically, right? It's not like streaming.
It's a bit annoying.
This is why you needed like 25 some
It's so annoying. My kids use my YouTube. They got me banned from doing live violations. So
okay.
set me in a town. I was like, yeah, fun and games.
Basically, funnily tax. Investment in the head. I don't know. That's it, isn't it? Is it down there? Yeah.
Anyone see him?
You know, the strategy on shelf is it's all right.
Oh, was that? In charge of live stream, just be if anyone's talking, just be careful with
Just to. What is Graham Creasy?
well he's each party's now two representatives on it, their own party.
But now representatives, not
Not me.
from this.
And then you're in it. Well,
I'm pretty well an environmentalist now.
okay.
Be doing things up which was about say Alice Park that moved on to Children's Garden. So I'm pretty well
You stood well. You stood for the role.
No, I enjoyed Hustings now that
Visitors, yeah.
it was not such a big affair, but
There's a lot more interest in this.
I am so pleased that you are doing this because not every area is doing it.
No.
I think Bedford still uses the things. I will let them have the oil for free. They, I think he was under the old John Powell.
Yeah.
He felt he had to be completely apolitical.
Yeah.
But actually, the residents' association can be apolitical. They're just making facilities.
That's sure. I mean, in our committee, we've got the whole spectrum. That's what makes it gives you the vote.
And it also gives you the solutions, but everything you're trying to do is so yeah, I'm very interested in
Very good.
So would you prefer that I sat there then?
It might be handy.
Okay.
And then, yeah, just warn.
Is it actually on now?
Yeah.
Is the battery going to last?
Yeah, yeah, cool.
I will sit here and try to encourage people to go in the other way. Cool.
Because the other thing is it would pick up all the sound.
It's hilarious that you
Yeah.
think I'm responsible enough to pick up that.
Someone else said out and went.
Just it was better than Christmas. It was more fun, but don't do too much because that's the live feed. So I think you can say. Oh, so you have to be totally silent. I know, I'm not sounding there, I know.
Yeah.
It's Stephen. Oh, that was
Like,
not feeding to everything. You know, it's very good. Does brilliant work. Memorial. And Queen's Gardens. Church House Gardens, but get it right. Near. It's not in Albany, so so.
I did that when you first came out.
Hey John, how are you? Good to see you. Okay.
This is the silence.
Forward, not distracting.
I thought about it, I don't know what to do. Speed screen. Still going.
Okay, we ready, Mark? Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Petswood and the Knoll local election hustings here at St John's Church. My name is Stephen Sangster. I'm the chair of the Knoll Residents Association. Thank you all for coming along this evening. We've got a full room, as you can see, which reflects, I think, how much interest there is in our local area and the decisions that affect it. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Should you need the toilet, it's just through these doors here, up the steps, I think on the left. In the unfortunate event of a fire, I'm sure there won't be, fire exits at the back here, but also at the side doors here. Before we begin, a couple of important points, if I may. First of all, the Knoll Residents Association is politically neutral. We do not endorse any candidate or party. Our role tonight is simply to provide a fair, structured and transparent forum for you all to hear directly from those standing in the election in Bromley Council. We also have a committee made up of residents with a broad range of political views, which reflects the community we serve and underpins how we approach events like this. I'd also like to say thank you to the Petswood Residents Association, some of whose members are here this evening, for helping to promote the event. All candidates standing in the ward were invited to take part this evening and sit at this top table. I'll now introduce those that are here tonight, and I'll extend a warm welcome to each of them, not just for being here, but for standing in this election. Without people putting themselves forward, we simply don't have a functioning democracy. And whilst you might not agree with all their views, having a range of different options is what allows proper debate and ultimately leads to more effective government and a stronger council. So on the end, we have Thomas, Liberal Democrats, Ben, Liberal Democrats, Sarah, Liberal Democrats. We've got Saskia from the Green Party. To my left, we've got George, Simon and Tony from the Conservatives, and Margaret from the Labour Party on the end. No doubt we'll hear more about them in due course. You'll note that there's no representation from Reform UK this evening. They chose not to take part under the agreed format. Their request was to include individuals who are not standing as candidates up on this top table in the panel, which is something we couldn't accommodate. This event is focused on those that formally put themselves forward for election. They are the individuals residents will be voting for, and ultimately the ones who will be accountable for the decisions they make if elected. In terms of the format, we'll begin with some opening statements from each party, followed by a series of pre-submitted questions covering local issues. Each party will have equal time to respond, and I'll be keeping a close eye on timings to ensure fairness. We'll then move to some questions from the floor, subject to time, and finally there'll be some closing statements from each party. Please do allow the candidates to speak without interruption, and if you would like to show appreciation, please hold your applause until the end of the response. This event is being live streamed with cameras focused on us, the candidates, and we ask that you don't record or take photos in the audience. That would be great. If I need to intervene on time or order of speaking, those decisions are final and simply there to keep things fair and on track. After the formal close around about 9 o'clock, you're very welcome to stay for wine, soft drinks, and some special election biscuits. I said special election biscuits. What we're aiming for tonight is a simple, respectful, informative discussion that helps residents make an informed choice at the ballot box. So with that, let's begin. So I'd ask the parties to come forward with their opening statements. We chose the order of speaking at random, and it is for the Conservatives to go first. If I invite you up to the lectern.
Good evening, everyone. There are two main reasons why I believe you should choose your local Conservative candidates to represent you. The clue to the first is the local Conservative label that you will see in our leaflets and on your ballot papers. We're part of a majority group that has maintained financial stability despite everything successive governments have thrown at us, or more accurately, taken away, 6.5 million in the current financial year. We have been debt-free and all our local taxes have gone on services, not servicing debt. Our late colleague Keith Onslow left a legacy of an award-winning 150% funded local pension scheme, saving us all 10 million a year. We have a new member of our team, George Barnes, been joking on the doorsteps that he reduces our average age to 40. The clue to the second main reason for supporting us is the borough crest on my tie with the motto Servire Populo, serve the people. Whether you vote for us or not, constituents are our first priority. We can't always produce miracles, but we did get Santa off a parking ticket for parking in a bus stop while setting up his grotto. If you write to the three of us, we pride ourselves in responding within 24 hours and usually much sooner. The first to open the email becomes the owner unless it's a specialist subject, such as Biggin Hill, which Simon deals with, or licensing, which I deal with. An email to just one of us, usually to the first listed. The late Doug Ald used to receive the bulk of emails. If you vote for the three of us, Simon is getting very excited that we have a new colleague with a Barnes surname. We are unusual politicians in promising you more of the same. I hope you agree that we have served you well and that you will support us on the 7th of May. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. 2 minutes.
So, good evening, everyone, and thanks all for coming. My name's Margaret Mills, and I'm standing as a Labour candidate in this election. I've lived in the area for over 40 years. My children attended local schools. I currently live within the ward, and I've been active in a number of local organisations and currently volunteer for the Kent Association for the Blind and run a painting group within the auspices of the U3A. During my career in the civil service, I was a trade union representative, also serving as branch secretary for a time. So I'd like to mention my fellow Labour candidates who sadly couldn't be here this evening. There's Gareth Reetham, who's lived in the borough for his entire life and stood as a Labour candidate at the last election. Also Tim Fisher, who now lives in Orpington. He previously lived in Petswood, and his children and grandchildren still live here. He served as a magistrate and is therefore well aware of social problems in the area. The current administration is not doing a bad job. Bromley is for the most part a pleasant place to live, but we in the Labour Party believe it could be better, and I'll be explaining our vision during subsequent questions. Someone said to me that if you do the job of councillor properly, it is hard work. Labour offers 3 candidates who have a personal stake in the community and are prepared to put in the hard work to improve lives and services within this ward in particular and the community as a whole. Thank you.
Right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Saskia Sabelos, and I've been a Bromley resident for 20 years, where I live with my husband and 3 daughters. I teach psychology and criminology at a number of universities, but I'm also currently studying environmental sciences, partly to challenge climate misinformation. The reason why I'm standing is that I want to provide a voice and stand up for those people in the borough who feel unheard. Across the borough, residents tell us the same story. Most importantly, they're worried about the cost of living. They're also frustrated about unreliable and bin collections and potholes. We also hear what residents want. They want safer streets. They want better support for young people. They want community spaces that bring people together. Crucially, they want a council that listens and responds. On the other hand, we have Bromley Council who tell a different story. What we hear from the council is that there are financial pressures and difficult choices. What we have to keep in mind, though, is why is there no money? Why are there difficult choices to make? These are consequences of decades-long mismanagement by national governments. The local Conservatives are, of course, Conservatives. They chose austerity. They voted for Boris Johnson and his often-ready Brexit deal. They put Liz Truss in charge of the country. They won. They got everything they wanted. And let's not forget Nigel Farage, the kingmaker in the 2019 election, by not standing Brexit Party candidates. And now we're told by the same people that they have the solution. We believe in a council that listens and works with residents to improve everyday life. We will take on the cost of living crisis, invest in young people, and make our streets safer. We also take the climate emergency seriously and use this to build a healthier, fairer borough for the future. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honour to be here today, and thank you to Stephen and the Residents Association for organising this amazing evening. My name is Thomas Velvick, and I am running alongside my candidates, Ben and Sarah, for the Liberal Democrat Party. The reason why we're standing is we are really proud to be up here today to represent a Britain, a Britain. We are really proud to represent a Britain that we are proud of and a Bromley that we are proud of in a world that seeks to divide us. We believe that Bromley does very well have the capability to be a Bromley that works for all its residents, and in many ways it currently does. For us, if we were elected, we would say our priorities would be safer and better roads, the right housing in the right places, and protecting green spaces. And these are all things that we hear residents say on the doorsteps time and time again. If elected, we would focus on creating a council that works on these priorities, but does so in a way that promotes the values of tolerance, inclusion, and transparency. And throughout this evening, we are really, really excited to tell you about the plans and the things that we hope that we can achieve for our borough and our vision for the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes the opening statements. So now we will go to the floor for questions. We've got 6 questions. Thank you for everyone who submitted questions as part of the event booking. We chose 6 questions to give a broad spectrum across different issues. And if I could ask one of the stewards to come forward to be the roaming mic for us. We will go to the first resident. Thank you, Chris. So the first question is from Fiona Tomley. You want to put your hand up, stand up.
Thank you, Steve. My question relates to the budget. I'd like to know from each of you whether you support the budget that was recently set by the council, and if you did, why? And if you didn't, how would you have done it differently?
Thank you very much, Fiona. And if I get the first response, that's 1 minute response from Margaret from the Labour Party.
So the Labour Party did not support the budget set by the Conservatives. We felt it was lacking in genuine transformation. And unlike the other parties, the Labour Party did submit their own alternative budget. Now, I've only got a minute, so I can't take us through the whole thing, but I'll just give you some of the headlines. Our budget delivered 150 new social homes by 2029. That was funded partly from grants, capital, and borrowing. Investing in young people in care, creating 15 new in-borough residential places. For adults, 50 supported living units for young people with disabilities moving into adulthood. Pilot 20 affordable supported homes for over 55s. To fund Bromley's priorities, we propose selling the council's property investments outside the borough. Is that 1 minute? Right. Okay. There's lots more, so come and see me afterwards.
And now Saskia for the Green Party.
Right. We do not agree with the budget. More austerity is detrimental. Austerity measures resulted in an estimated 300 excess deaths and actually slowed economic growth. We need to invest in people in our communities. And my focus here on what should be changed in the budget is on the climate crisis, which is not explicitly addressed. In the UK, we'll face more extreme weather events. These are happening now. The UK faces two major threats. The first relates to floods. The second threat is extreme heat. The UK hit 40 degrees for the first time in July 22, where we also saw wildfires. Extreme heat kills, and there were 387 excess deaths in London alone then. Bromley is underprepared for climate change impacts. We need to build a climate resilient borough with more green infrastructure, such as green walls, sustainable drainage systems, and promote renewable energy to protect us from the impacts of heat and floods. To those who say we cannot afford to act on climate change, the answer is that we cannot afford not to act.
Okay, well done. Excellent.
Thank you. So as a party, we proposed our own amendments to the budget, as we have done every 4 years, every year for the last 4 years. But as those amendments were defeated, as we think it is sensible policy that council has a budget to work towards, we eventually voted for the budget proposed. But there are things we would have done differently. For example, digital exclusion. We know that as lots of services are moving online, it's very difficult for residents to access the services they needed. So as a party, what we would have done differently is used £50,000 of funds from the Members Initiative Fund earmarked reserved to create training and outreach programs to help reach residents who feel excluded by lots of services moving online. We would have also liked to see more action to be done to make sure that our parks are well funded and in a bid ready state, so that when opportunities arrive for better funding for regeneration, Bromley is in a state where it can bid for these opportunities and ensure that our parks remain the greenest places possible. Thank you.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. I believe I get 30 seconds to introduce myself. So a bit about me. I'm George. I live in Knoll, just by the Cricketers pub. Naming a pub usually gets people to know where you've been. At 20, I went to Perry Hall School, and yes, a local candidate. It's a pleasure to be as one Knoll resident before the other Knoll residents. Not forgetting the people who came from Pettsville as well. It's an equal pleasure to be before them. So for the question, yes, I did support the budget, as you might expect. We have to have a balanced budget by law, and I was pleased that the budget included lots of good things. For example, it included an extra 5 million for road maintenance and potholes, which is a good thing. You might have seen from Facebook, I have a particular interest in potholes, so I was especially pleased to see that one. It also had funding for the much asked for pedestrian safety improvement scheme at Crofton School, with the crossing and the refuge, both much asked for by parents, as I heard at the public engagement session back in January. Now, I know obviously the budget is a challenge. The Labour government took £6.5 million off of us, which is
interesting. And even though that's the case, we've managed to make some investments and also have one of the lowest council tax rates around, lower than Reform Kent, for example. So I think we are doing a good job. So I was pleased to support the budget. Not perfect, but in the circumstances, I think it's a good job. Thank you.
Okay, that's our first question of the night. On to the second question now. And this is Teacher Napier. Napier. Up front there.
It needs to be on green, Chris.
Can you hear me now? Oh. Okay, you probably won't be surprised with my question. What is your party's stand on Bromley housing, the Green Belt, and how to address in our borough? So the Green Party, as a Green Party, we strongly oppose building on the Green Belt. It's also clear that we need more housing. We believe that housing is a human right, but we also see that too many developments are actually not affordable for local residents. We advocate for new builds on brownfield sites, but we demand significantly more social housing. Some of our proposals include to use council-owned land and also review how council-owned land can meet better housing needs. We also highlight the need to purchase and refurbish older housing stock. Further options include housing, bringing back empty homes into use. In Bromley, the number of long-term empty homes seems to range, but we're talking about several hundred empty homes. They could be brought back into use. What's also important, though, is the quality of housing. We need new, high-quality, energy-efficient homes for social rent. We need to build more family homes and also need to retrofit existing council homes to improve energy efficiency. Overall, we need homes that people actually need, that are fit to live in, and that are generally affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take this question in two parts, first the housing and then the green belt. So data showing that in Bromley, the number of long-term empty homes recently as admitted by a council officer has risen by 12%. And we think in this party that this is a real shame. What we would do differently is that we would have a dedicated empty homes officer who would go out, identify these sites, identify unused brownfield land, and identify places where homes in the high street can be brought back into regeneration. And then moving on to the green belt, because we don't think that the green belt should be treated as an easy option for housing, and we oppose building on it. We would oppose building on the green belt, and we also think it is a shame that the Conservatives haven't necessarily been able to support this to the same extent that we would, with approving the construction of a archive store in the Priory Gardens, despite the objections of hundreds of residents and a petition of 3,000 signatures. This is something that we would have opposed, and our housing and green belt policy would also take into account residents' concerns as much as possible where this has been possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And as you mentioned, the proposal, the museum store that's got planning permission on the Priory Park, the Conservatives are next, and you have the right to respond to that piece of work. You get that extra 30 seconds.
Just a few very brief notes on the green belt. We're absolutely clear. Conservative Party at every level is for preserving it. Our local plan is subservient to the London plan, so GLA will be the main determinant of what happens here. Thomas Turrow, our representative, took a motion to save the green belt or preserve the green belt to City Hall, and that was supported by the Conservatives. Reform and Labour voted not to protect our green belt, and the Liberal Democrats abstained. In terms of housing, we're building our own. We've got Bromley Homes for Bromley people, and we have nearly 600 homes in the pipeline, many of them, almost all of them, for social rent. We have allowed just a little bit of intrusion on the green belt. So Pray Wanderers was built with some houses. And if you'd like a question, Mark Gahey, the central defender of England, was nurtured first of all by Pray Wanderers.
And you've got 30 seconds to respond to the museum store Priory Gardens.
Museum, a very long story. We're legally required to preserve our archives. It needs special storage. As part of the Churchill Theatre development, the archives came out. We've secured the future of the Churchill Theatre. We examined 8 sites that Bromley owned to house the museum, and the one in Priory Gardens, it's not in the gardens, it's in the old garden park where a birdie sat, and that was the cheapest and the best convenient one available. So that's almost been forced on us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So housing is an area where the current administration has not shone. Social housing is in crisis in Bromley due to a history of underdevelopment and funding. It's beginning to change during the last 18 months because of the government's new home scheme. But in the last 4 years, the waiting list has gone up. Currently, people joining the waiting list can expect to wait for an average of 4 years. And if you want a 4-bedroomed home, potentially 18 years. So there has been a lack of building of new homes, and at the moment the Conservatives only have 2 years worth of development planned, and that's despite it being a 5-year plan. So what's happened as a result is that developers are trying to build on the green belt simply because it's cheaper than trying to redevelop brown or grey sites. We don't want to see our green belt being developed, and we'll vote against that. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, we're on to question 3 now, and I hope we have Shirley Russell there on the left.
There are moves to move some services at the PRU, the Princess Royal University Hospital, to Denmark Hill. What view does your party have on local services compared to centres of expertise?
Thank you for the question, and it is a very important question. And we understand that residents are rightly concerned about the accessibility of their services.
Can you slow down a little, please? Thank you.
We rightly believe the services should be accessible for their residents. We believe that each case should be evaluated on its merits. There are some cases in which centres of expertise are better than using local resources. However, in this situation, we are opposed to the moving of the Childbirth Centre from the PRU to Denmark Hill for 3 main reasons: the impact on travel times for residents, the difficulty of parking for residents going to the services, and cases of emergency care. We believe that residents should feel that they can access constant support in these situations, and we don't feel that moving the childcare unit from the PRU to Denmark Hill will support this. Thank you.
First of all, I'm Simon Forthorpe. If you're wondering what this chicken is, it's not a mascot, it's the Reform candidate. We're not showing that tonight. So decent day and such like. I've been a councillor here for 20 years, loyal to this ward. Every single day we're out doing something, looking after the residents in this ward, serving you well. And that's part of the things that we want to continue over the next 4 years. We're obviously talking about the Chartwell unit, haematology and cancer ward, and I think everybody in this room would say that we actually want the best possible outcomes for anyone who's being treated for this disease. And as you can probably guess, I'm no clinical expert on health services and how best they are delivered. But I do, however, recall reading somewhere that the best outcomes are usually delivered by having good services in close proximity to where they are needed. The Conservatives actually called in this decision by the the NHS to our Health and Scrutiny Committee, and that was in November last year. We had an update in January this year, and there's a public consultation which I believe is now closed. And once that reports, it will again go back to the Conservatives and to the Health and Scrutiny Committee.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
I wanted you to take the chicken back with you. We're not, livestock is not allowed in the shirt. And Margaret,
So we need to have a balance between proximity of services and excellence of services. If you are suffering from cancer, then you want to be treated by the best specialist available. And if that means having to go to Denmark Hill and getting the very best treatment, then that is what you want. Ideally, what we need to do is get people diagnosed quicker so that they can be treated earlier and therefore maybe avoid hospitalization. So at the moment, where are we? Sorry. The new integrated neighbourhood team models are seeking to take the expertise at all levels and bring it together so that patients can be identified at an earlier stage. And also, since Labour has been in power, waiting lists have dropped. So I think that's the way we would go about trying to get people identified earlier and hopefully being given the best treatment by the best experts in the field.
thank you.
Right, our view is to keep services local, thus here the hematology unit should stay true. Those affected by it, such as residents living with cancer, are extremely distressed about the move. Some of the risks that are mentioned include the transfer, thus there may be delays where instant treatments are necessary. It also represents additional burdens in form of travel and time for family members who support relatives who are undergoing treatment. We need to ensure that our residents have easy access to what they need to help them live better. The Green Party also fears that such centres are linked to the creeping privatisation of the NHS. We reject privatisation as there's ultimately a profit motive. Patients' well-being and health should not be secondary to shareholder interests and profits. Research, for example, by Oxford University investigated the impacts of outsourcing publicly owned healthcare services to the private sector. They tended to make higher profits, but ultimately corresponded with worse outcomes for the patients. Thank you.
Okay, and we're now on to question 4. Hopefully we've got Helen Secular. You want to put your hand up?
Good evening. Could you tell us how you'll take action to tackle antisocial behaviour in the area?
Let's put the Conservatives up first.
Thank you for your question. In the minutes, I will try and mention 3 things. The first thing is continuing to work with the Safe Neighbourhood panel. Simon and Tony and myself are already on that. There's useful opportunity to sort of liaise with the police and normally raise 3 priorities for between meetings for the local police team to work on. And this is often antisocial behaviour as the priorities. And the second thing is to continue regular graffiti patrols throughout the ward, which consists of driving across Petswood and Knoll and looking for graffiti, often on boxes and that sort of thing, and on walls. When Simon started 20 years ago, he frequently reported up to 100 things, and now it's often less than 5 defects. May not be the biggest thing graffiti. If you believe in the broken windows theory, tackling small things and making sure they're not unaddressed can really make a difference on more serious antisocial behaviour. And the final thing, obviously a lot of these things are down to the police, but something the council has particular power in is with flight of bid. I was pleased to hear about some prosecutions recently. I'll be pushing for more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So antisocial behaviour covers a wide range of activities, but I can give you an example of what our Labour councillor in St Paul's Craig, Chris Price, has been doing, and I would certainly seek to emulate him. So with the local police, he coordinates the local ward panel meeting that their Conservative councillor has never attended. He led a campaign to get a fence around a park to reduce motor vehicles getting onto the park, which was seriously annoying people in the neighbourhood. He's worked with council officers and police to reduce antisocial behaviour on another park. And where there were antisocial gatherings on a residential street by a large group of 50 plus people, which borders on terrorism, quite frankly, he was contacted by residents and called the police on their behalf. He worked with the Housing Association, police and council to get sanctions and restrictions orders on individuals. Thank you.
Right. It's clear that antisocial behaviours affect communities and make people feel unsafe and distressed. I assume in this context, people might think of young people showing antisocial behaviours such as rowdy crowds, vandalism, graffiti, or joyriding. Rather than treating the symptom, our approach aims to tackle the root causes of this. We focus on community-led solutions. Most importantly, we have to invest in our youth. Statistics from London show that 81 youth centres closed since 2010. We need to create safe spaces for young people, especially those that may be vulnerable and risk falling into a life of gangs or crime. We should also get young people involved in decision-making regarding the services they use. Thus, we believe preventative measures are the way forward. Similarly, restorative justice is a way of reducing reoffending. In other examples of antisocial behaviours that are not specific to age, for example, fly tipping or littering, we advocate for stronger enforcement, but also meaningful penalties. Thank you.
Good evening. Our view is that prevention, community policing, early intervention, and restorative justice matters. Visible neighbourhood policing is vital to us. We need more officers and support officers from and for the community. Reduced numbers, particularly during protests in central London, makes this incredibly challenging. Liberal Democrat councillors oppose the closure of the 24-hour police front counter at Bromley Police Station. We will continue to oppose changes that reduce access to policing services. Residents must feel safe enough to walk to a police station and get whatever help they need, particularly at times of crisis. Since 2023, we have proposed a burglary response guarantee. Theft must be taken seriously, and victims must know that their case is being dealt with properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, before you sit down, you want to just introduce yourself,
Yeah, sure.
who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah, so I have to scroll up because these notes are a bit earlier, but so yeah, I was gonna say, months ago I decided to stand for election. I did it because I wanted to get more involved in local politics, be a part of our campaign, and see for myself how it works. Petswood and Knoll is a lovely area, and I've grown up walking my dog nearby here. I was at Bullerswood School until I finished almost 2 years ago now. I'm at university, but at times I find my studies frustrating. There's political history, systems and theories, lots of diagnosis and arguments, but there's no real life application. The casework and decisions that I know councillors deal with on a regular basis makes a genuine difference to people. It's what politics should be about. Thank you very much.
Okay, question 5 is from a lady called Marilyn Desford. Sadly can't be here at the last minute, so I'm going to read the question on her behalf. The question is, in light of perceived increased speeds and volume of traffic on residential roads locally, and the need to examine the effect on residents. What plans or actions are likely to be taken by the incoming councillors? And the first up is Margaret for Labour.
We would like to see action taken before accidents happen. I'm sure everybody here will know which roads around where they live are dangerous. At the moment, the Conservatives wait until there have been 5 accidents where people have been killed or seriously injured before taking action. We would rather be preventative. So we'll be listening to residents and working with them to look at roads and junctions of significant concern and work with TfL and our highways team with an attitude of what can we do to slow down traffic and make the roads safer for everyone. We have good officers in our highway team, but at the moment they're not allowed to think safety first. So at the moment we have a motorist first party, but Labour is a people first party. Thank you.
Okay, and Conservatives up next. And you also mentioned there that the Conservative their councillors will only take action once there's been 5 accidents. So you have a right to reply whoever covers that.
First of all, that's a lie, basically. If you look at, say, Crofton School, we're taking action there. And actually, I want to pay tribute to a previous Labour candidate, Charlotte Grieveson, who was also part of instigating that. And we've taken action. There's not been any accidents there because we want people to be able to cross safely and get to school. So I totally reject that aspect of it. And let's actually deal with Brom itself. We are the best borough in London for casualty reductions. That's on our 550 miles of roads. We've had a 51% reduction compared with the Greater London baseline. Now, many of our neighbouring boroughs, they have blanket 20-mile-an-hour zones, low traffic neighbourhoods, and yet they have much higher casualty rates. Bromley achieved these results through small changes and being laser focused on those accident hotspots, which is what those people that live in those areas would expect. We have promoted community speed watch by working with the police through the Safer Neighbourhood panel, measuring traffic speeds in roads across the ward. We've attended every single one. Now we're supporting the Knoll Residents Association with their local initiative to measure speed. And so, for example, we've been taking part on Mayfield Avenue, Knoll Rise, and we will be there for Tower Road too.
You can do it.
Good evening, I'm Sarah Collage. I'm a politics student at university and a Liberal Democrats candidate for real change in our community. Residents are rightly concerned about rising traffic speeds and volumes on our local roads, especially near homes and schools. We believe councils should be given the power to act. That's why we're calling on the government to allow councils to install speed cameras where residents support them with fines reinvested directly into safer streets, road improvements and school travel schemes. This isn't about punishing drivers, it's about protecting communities and people and representing and responding to local concerns. We'll also push for better maintained streets and services and pavements because poor surfaces disproportionately affect older people, disabled residents and families of buggies. And we'll work with the Transport for London to reduce congestion, improve traffic flow and cut pollution. Clean air and safe streets should be a basic right for everyone in our community. I think Margaret and I should deserve an extra election for All right. Right. So the Green Party's view is to reduce journeys by car. We're not against cars, but we advocate for active travel. This means we need to invest in better cycle lanes, encourage walking, and promote public transport. Active travel contributes to health and well-being and reduces harmful emissions. The current cycle lanes in Bromley are not safe nor joined up. We need to be bolder and more ambitious and look, for example, at other cities such as Copenhagen, which is leading the way in promoting cycling in cities. There should also be a change in people's views on cycling. It is not motorists versus cyclists. People can be both. But we need to make sure cyclists and pedestrians are safe on our roads. This is especially true for the most vulnerable in our society, such as children, teenagers, older people, or those who may be neurodivergent. It is our responsibility to create streets where every person feels safe. Other aims would be to implement further 20-mile-per-hour zones in residential streets and outside all schools across the borough.
Okay, we're coming on to the last of the prepared questions, and then we'll be opening up to the floor. So if you haven't thought of a question already, think about one. Make sure it's a local question that impacts us here in the ward, and it's not a question that we've already touched on. But if I come to the last prepared question, we have Gavin James.
Thanks. What's your vision for rejuvenating the high street?
So local high streets are essential for communities, but we often see vacant shops and business struggle with costs. The Green Party's aims to have vibrant local communities, and we support buying from independent local shops over large corporations. Ideally, there should be a mix of retail and services, but most importantly, also community spaces. There are examples of such community spaces, for example, the Greener and Cleaner charity. They offer a range of workshops, provide advice, host repair cafes, etc. Such community spaces are needed on the high street where residents of all ages are welcome and can connect with others. There should be spaces for local artists to display their work, and there could be pop-up markets. To help local businesses financially, community energy projects should be considered that can help small businesses to lower their energy bills. It makes communities and local businesses more sustainable and more resilient, and any excess profits can be reinvested in the local community. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So I feel personally quite strongly about our high streets. I've worked in a local cafe on Station Square in Pettswood for the last year, and I really see the value that having small businesses and community spaces can bring to an area, and it is a real privilege to be able to work in one of those spaces. The Sutton Run Liberal Democrat administration is already showing how high streets can be rejuvenated. Their regeneration plan has introduced London's Cancer Hub, a science district, which is bringing hundreds of jobs into the area. This sort of ambition is something that we think that we could recreate at Bromley, and we have no limit on the ambition that we think that we could have for our high streets. We would like to see thriving high streets where businesses choose to invest and where local businesses feel supported and feel supported by a council that listens to them. We would like to back small businesses and bring life into empty units on our high street to bring back the balance between services, retail, and our local community spaces, which we feel is so important. Thank you so much.
Okay, Margaret.
Right, so shopping habits have changed, so we're not going to get back the high streets of old. So it needs to be a hub for the community, needs to appeal to people, it has to respond to needs. Cheaper business rates would help, but that isn't going to solve the problem. It's about consultation and planning and design, accessibility. So what we need the high streets to be is to be the hub of the community where you go to meet people, get advice, meet friends, be entertained, go for a walk. Once you take away the business-led approach and have a community focus, then you can begin to regenerate the high streets with creative solutions. Again, it would be a question of looking around to see what other towns have achieved, because some have achieved quite a lot, and see if we can import their ideas into Walkington and Pettswood. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
council's vision, and I'll just speak to Orpington for the moment, can be found online in the Orpington Town Centre supplementary planning document, which was agreed after a lot of consultation in July 2023. Be warned, it is 52 pages long. Can't tell you all about that in a minute. The basic premise we've had, obviously private enterprise and private landlords dictate exactly what goes on. Knoll residents WhatsApp, where we're promoting new shops that are coming. That is a brilliant initiative. As far as the council is concerned, we've attempted to increase footfall by such moves as bringing the library from Priory Gardens into the town centre. We encourage Tesco because that gave parking. We've retained the high street as a bus corridor rather than pedestrianising it, because that we believe brings things in, and promoted Orpington first.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're coming to the floor now. So if you would mind raising your hand, if you got a question, and Chris, I think you've got the microphone somewhere. Yeah. Okay, gentleman here at the front was first.
Thank you. I must admit that when I open my council tax bill every year, it has gone up very, very considerably over the last couple of years. In discussions with one of the Tory councillors, you've mentioned that Bromley may be in deficit in the years to come. Can you tell us anything further about that? And can either party reassure us that that will not be the case? Thank you.
Okay, one of the Conservative.
Only get a minute still.
Yeah.
Well, where to begin? To start with, we've had, as been mentioned, £6.5 million taken off of us, not even a grand prix off the government. It's your council taxpayers' money, by the way, and the government give us some of it back. That's for this year. And that is the equivalent of 3% on your council tax. About 30% of your council tax goes to Mr. Khan, so we don't ever get to see it. We just collect it on his behalf. Next year, the Labour government are going to take another £8.5 million off of us, and the year after that, another £8.5 million. And do you know what they said? They said, we're taking money off of you because your council tax is too low. And that's what we're faced with. We'll do our best. We're a Conservative authority. We've got £30 million of savings baked in this year, and we'll find more savings over the coming years to make sure that we have a balanced budget. Thank you.
So Margaret, Simon there saying that Labour government perhaps responsible for reducing funding and a further 8 to 10 million, he said, coming off next year. Did you want to respond to that?
I don't think I do, no.
Okay, that's fine. Anybody else want to respond to that question? No?
But maybe I'll just add something.
Well, just yeah.
Yeah, I think the key thing is, again, we did see that austerity measures put us into the right mess. We've got an increase in food banks, detrimental effects, public services are down. It's the wrong way to approach this. We should actually invest in our communities. If we try to be as frugal as Bromley Council seems to try to, where they say, oh, we're so frugal, we're looking after the money. But this is why all the services are down. We have to be the opposite. We have to invest in people and invest in communities to make it actually more livable, more enjoyable. In particular, youth has been completely neglected, plus climate change. There's no talk about climate change. It's almost like it doesn't exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up on to the second question on the floor. Johnston.
With it. Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, yeah. Sorry to be so boring about this subject because I've already contacted the councillors about this. I'm delighted with the work the council are doing in filling in potholes, but I'd be even more delighted if instead of filling in the potholes and leaving the deteriorating road 20 yards down the road to deteriorate and be dealt with next year. Is it not possible that much more effort could be put into resurfacing our roads? Now, I apologize for going on about this. It is something which comes up in conversation, as far as I'm concerned, with the various groups that I am associated with, and there is nothing which irritates us more than the potholes and the failure to take a long-term view about these overall deteriorating overall standard of the roads, which unless you resurface them, will only get worse. So I don't know how to put this in a question, but is there any way that we could put more effort into resurfacing rather than pothole filling?
Jules, okay? Thanks for the question. I completely understand your frustration, hence seeming every video I do on Facebook is about potholes, including one this morning at the resurfacing of Shepperton Road and Chidwell's Road recently. We have put an extra £5 million into potholes and road resurfacing. So hopefully now we've got some decent weather as well, we'll see that come through. Obviously January and February were pretty almost constant rain, which obviously doesn't help. We track them carefully. The figures are going up on Fix My Street in terms of defects being fixed. So I think we are getting better. We're putting more money. Obviously, the contractors are changing, as you're aware, for riding. So not everyone's the biggest fan of riding. I don't think that's a big secret. So I do think we are moving towards better times, even if the journey is not as quick as we would like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and I too feel your frustration. We believe it is a shame that the roads are in the state they're currently in, and while we welcome the resurfacing works on Shepperton Road and Chiswell's Road, we believe that more can be done. We think the reason why the roads are in this state is because the way that the contract has been, the way the contract with the contractor responsible for road resurfacing has been quite poorly managed. So we are really excited about the new process for the new contractor being selected, and we would like there to be more transparency in this approval process, so that residents don't feel like that their roads are being are deteriorating to the extent that they are now. And we also don't want to see dangerous roads and dangerous potholes. For example, I know there is a pothole that we've reported on Fix My Street by Crofton School. When you go around there, and the residents can't really avoid because it's in such a dangerous situation. We hope that when the new process for the contractor being selected happens, that there'll be some transparency in the process where residents can voice their concerns. Thank you.
Okay, next question.
So I agree with you, have another question. Several of you have talked about extra things you're going to do and things you're going to provide. Given the financial state of the council, what are you going to do less of to make that possible?
Right, as I mentioned, there's evidence that austerity doesn't lead to economic growth. So it's the wrong way of going about saying we're not spending any money, we have to spend the money. We can easily use the reserves, Bromley Council has the reserves, but there's also alternatives how we can create money for the communities, for example, energy community projects, where local communities get involved, they can get solar panels installed, they also get any excess benefits put back in the local community. So there's lots of other available options how we can generate money for local communities. But again, those options are not being addressed because we're not looking, for example, for alternative sources. We are basically brainwashed by fossil fuel industry, media, and renewable energies is not high on the agenda of Bromley Council. So if we were to do that and invest in the local communities, that's how, for example, some money could go, and we would be independent, for example, from fossil fuels and all the crisis we're seeing at the moment. Thank you.
Margaret?
Well, let's be clear, if you want good council services, you have to pay for them. So there is no way round that. But if you look at our budget, our alternative budget, which is available on Bromley Council's website, you'll see that we wanted to build housing which would cost in first instance, but it would deliver savings later on because we wouldn't be paying so much for temporary accommodation, which is very expensive. We also proposed freezing councillor expenses. Now, in the overall scheme of things, that's not an awful lot, but every little helps. And we also proposed to abolish the Our Bromley magazine. So, yes, we will find savings, but ultimately, I think you have to accept that if you want good services, you will have to pay for them. Thank you.
Okay, you're done? Oh, Tony?
I think there's presumption in the question that is not entirely true. Our officers are very clever at looking around what grants are available from various government bodies, and we're very quick at grabbing them. So some of the things we're able to do, and building more houses is one of them. We've been able to do that because we've managed to get quite a lot of grant funding. Housing is a fairly easy win at the moment because Sadiq Khan's desperate to get his money up, so he'll match fund us to do extra things. The other thing is Walnuts Leisure Centre has come in under budget. What we've been doing, so we're about to add extra things to that. I mentioned gloom and doom on the council budgets, national insurance that got put in, the government agreed not to do it. And the other thing, special educational needs, which we thought would be in our budget, we're now getting some grant funding from it. So it doesn't necessarily mean we have to cut to do extra things.
Okay, gentleman with the, would you call that amber or yellow? Strong yellow. Strong yellow.
So, thank you very much. Commend you all for standing in front of us. For democracy to work, we need accountability. So that's praise to you. The question, how do you plan to combat local discrimination and ensure our ward is a welcoming place for newcomers while supporting long-term residents?
Thank you. Yeah, Saskia?
The Green Party obviously is very inclusive to everyone. We welcome refugees. We welcome different transgender communities, LGBTQ+. Everyone is welcome and inclusive. And I find that rhetoric at the moment, both by the Tory government and the Reform people, very divisive and not helpful. Immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers are used as scapegoats for failures by subsequent governments, and anything that's wrong in society is basically blamed on them. There's a couple of misunderstandings as well that hardly anyone corrects at one time. So when it comes to refugees and asylum seekers, compared to other European countries, we don't take in particular more or less than other people. Most refugees stay in neighboring countries as well. So that's also a myth where people sort of think, oh, we're taking everyone. They literally stay in neighboring countries. Refugees also do not need to claim refuge in the first safe country. That's also a myth. We signed to the 1951 Refugee Convention, and there's a lot of myths going on. The Green Party will always welcome anyone.
Thank you. Okay, Conservative Party there. Saskia saying the Tory Party not welcoming. refugees used as scapegoats. You've got 30 seconds right to reply and then a 1 minute response if you wish.
Bromley Council had a Home for Ukraine scheme that has welcomed 1,000 Ukrainian immigrants. We're also welcoming, not so publicly, is people from Hong Kong with British rights that have come in. I like to think our borough is colourblind. That's certainly the way I approach it. And you can go online on the BBC Arabic channel and you will see me praising Kester Mosque. This year I've been to the service to celebrate Armed Servicemen, Holocaust Memorial Day and 4 years of Ukraine. I can tell you that Kester Mosque talks to the synagogue in Bromley, and just out of interest, nothing to do with colour, we picked the best person for our chief executive, Adi Aditosoya. He happens to be from Nigeria. So any troublemaking about immigrants, we treat everybody absolutely equally on their merits.
Thank you for the question, and this is a really important issue. I feel very personally strongly about this. My mum's side of the family, my grandparents immigrated to this country from Sri Lanka, and they immigrated to Bromley. They lived in Lock's Bottom, and they were pleasantly surprised in the 70s by how welcoming the community was. And I really think that those are values that we should really try and emulate as far as possible. Those are values that we, Ben and Sarah, definitely attempt to represent during our campaign. We think that Bromley we think that Bromley is an amazing place and has the potential to be the best place to live, work and study and all of those things. And we think that there's really practical policies that we as councillors can do to be inclusive, affordable housing, ensuring that everyone can live here in Bromley because it is such an amazing place. Being visible councillors and being a visible council as well, to make sure that all residents, no matter their background, feel supported and included in local politics as well. So thank you for your question.
I'm not sure that I understand that there's a tension between supporting existing residents and welcoming newcomers to the area. As far as Labour Party is concerned, you enter the area, you are one of us. And we certainly will have no truck with discrimination on whatever grounds. But I'm not sure this is a job so much for the council, because we already have the national law of the land, which makes hate crime a crime. So I am a bit puzzled by your question overall, really. But, have I got time? This is meant to be a debate.
I guess for me, the Knoll is a changing environment. We have lots of elderly residents that are moving on and younger families moving in. So how do we piece those generational gaps?
Well, this is simply a reflection of their natural life cycle. Old people tend to move out of an area, young families come in. And the areas will change over time, and they have done in my lifetime. But I think greater diversity is a good thing and beneficial to the community.
Okay. Any questions from the floor? Julie. Julie, that's great.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, sorry, just to pick up Tony on what you said, can you just clarify on the leisure centre, you said that it's coming under budget, but as far as I'm aware, it's not completed yet. So A, can you clarify how can it be under budget if it's not yet finished? And B, do you have any information as to when it will be opening?
We budgeted for the whole project. Contingencies are put in there. We haven't used them all. so we're able to enhance it. Situation at the Walnuts at the moment is pretty much complete. There's one thing we're waiting, and that's UK Power Networks to connect power. The way they operate is they will not connect the power till everything is finished. So the whole thing is being held up at the moment by UK Power Networks. Certain parts in the swimming pool we can't put up because you've got to connect the power, and then you've got to test it for a period, and then we can just put one or two things back. All done. The best, we promise spring. I don't know if you calculate May as spring, but the latest information I've got, and that's from today, is we should see it open before the end of May.
Good. Any other questions from the floor? Lady here.
Hello again. My question is now about the national emergency briefing. I'd like to know if the candidates went to the briefing last November and whether they support the petition to have it nationally broadcast on TV. So that's about the climate emergency.
Okay, so your question's about climate emergency, and did they see the national debate that was held? Where was that held?
It was Westminster. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I believe all candidates were invited to the briefing last November.
Yeah, I mean, if we can relate the climate change to life here in the Knoll and Pexwood.
Yeah. I mean, what I can just explain what it is. The national emergency briefing talks exactly about what I highlighted, that we just underprepared in the UK about the consequences that climate change will have. It will have an effect on our health. People will be ill. I mentioned excess death earlier. That we will have problems about food security because we're going to have floods and our crops won't grow. And there will be more refugees coming because obviously where it starts will be in sub-Saharan Africa or somewhere else. So we are just not taking the climate crisis seriously. I did go to a viewing last week. It was held in Greener and Cleaner charity. And the idea is that there should be a national briefing at any one point so people know about the urgency of this. And I absolutely support it. I went and I tried to spread the message. Ideal case scenario would be schools would be showing it so everyone is aware of it. So people are just underprepared and don't know enough about the severity of what's going to have to happen. And it's not only us, it's basically it's happening now, but it's also about future generation, our children and grandchildren.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't invited. I don't know why that is. And obviously it would have depended on diary commitments at the time. So we don't necessarily do that. But what I can say, which is probably helpful to know about Bromley, we've recently planted over 5,000 trees in this borough. All other things which people really like. We've also planted 2 microforests. And for example, on the planning committees, we try to encourage electric car charging points. We also encourage things like water harvesting, solar panels where they're in place. Those are the small things that we do, and all of those add up over time. And if people can do them, I think it'll make everywhere better, make the Knoll better, make the whole country better. What we don't want, going back to what Tony said earlier, is to build on the lungs of London, which is the green belt.
Well, I wasn't invited, so no, I did not attend.
Oh, anyone for this one. It's the Green and Cleaner charity is in place, and anyone for this one is just to advertise. I just want to highlight I wasn't invited.
Right. Okay. Well, obviously, I need to go on Facebook. So no, I mean, obviously, any attempts anybody can make to make things better are to be admired, and it is something we do need to take seriously. Everybody, all of us, and that's about all I've got to say on the subject.
Thank you. Okay. Lady in the middle.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I ask what's happening with the development with the flats building over the walnuts? That seems to have sort of gone very quiet.
Okay. Conservative Party, what the?
I think you're having memories of 2022 when you had nuts for walnuts and all that lot. And there was rather a lot of people opposing what was then proposed, which was 19-storey, 21-storey blocks of flats. No planning application has ever been put in. And Tony talked about redeveloping the centre at the town centre earlier. And again, if there's no planning application, there's nothing for us to comment on. We know that there's a new developer there, but they keep mooting various things, but it never comes forward. And I think that's because they know what the strength of feeling is in the Knoll.
Anybody want to comment, perhaps more generally, on tall building or brownfield development? They think the original planning application was appropriate. Anyone? No. Okay.
Yeah. If nothing's happening, is it just going to sort of be sort of, it looks such a mess at the moment in the walnuts, all the shops are closing, nothing's happening. Is it just going to be left like that? And nobody does anything about it?
Yeah.
It just deteriorates.
It's in the hands of the developers and I guess the owners of the existing land to take responsibility for its current condition. But yeah, we'll leave that one there.
Steve, can we just correct that? A planning application was put in, but it was withdrawn.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. And just clarifying, the planning application was put in and then withdrawn. Okay, any other questions? Have a look at the thing. There's one question here that didn't quite make the cut, but it might be quite a nice one to end on, unless anyone's got any other urgent ones. But someone came through and said, what are the 3 things that you love the most about Petswood and the Knoll, and the one thing that irritates you the most? So, anyone want to go first on that? I know that irritates one. Do you want to go first? 3 things you love?
The people, the green spaces, and the community. And the irritating thing is the potholes. But we're getting better, and it'll get better. I think. Thank you.
Well, I'd certainly have to say the woodland is one of the favourite things. And again, the people, I can go along with that. I think I'd find it difficult to pick a third. It'll probably come back to me when I'm not thinking about it. I think what irritates me most are the traffic jams around Crofton School in the mornings and when it's time to come out.
Okay, thank you.
For me, must be also the green space. I didn't mention it. We've got an English Springer Spaniel, so people when we see various parks here throughout Bromley, I should say. So that's the thing I probably like most. Not liking, no, there's nothing really I don't like about it. So
okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. In thinking about this, the first thing I would say is the community and I guess the people. They're very lovely. I see that every day when I'm working. The second thing I would say is definitely our natural environment. Just walking here on my walk here. How many other places can you say that we have, Polris Park and all of those amazing green spaces just literally 5 minutes away from us, and especially just on the Knoll itself, it is really amazing. And then lastly, the people as well, they're just amazing. The one thing that I would say would be quite irritating is that people feel that they're not represented. So we would want residents to feel like they can have councillors and they can have representation on the council that better listens to them, better understands them, and is more open, tolerant, and inclusive.
Okay, any final questions, people have? Yep, lady at the front here.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes.
Uh,
I think it's that.
try now.
Thank you. The party that has failed to attend today, the leader of that party is advocating that if his party wins certain outer London boroughs on the 7th of May, he is toying with the possibility of those boroughs leaving the Greater London Assembly. So can the candidates represented here tonight confirm yes or no if they would remain in the Greater London Authority? Thank you.
No. If anyone couldn't hear that, the wish with the microphone. Question is broadly, the party that's not here tonight, the leader of that, Nigel Farage, has been suggesting a referendum on, I think, Bromley and Bexley, perhaps one other borough, should consider leaving the GLA, London, Greater London Authority. And I think your question was, would the panel of candidates support a referendum on leaving London? Yeah. Who wants to go first? Simon.
Well, it sounds good, doesn't it? Let's get out of Greater London, escape the clutches of Sadiq Khan. Sounds very tempting. But what are the consequences? First of all, a referendum in Bromley alone would cost the best part of £1 million. Talked about finances earlier, £1 million that we don't have. The other question is, if we come out of London, do our train stations suddenly stop being in zone 6 and 5? You know, those are the sort of consequential questions that we don't know the answers to. And so I don't think there's even anywhere near having a referendum at this stage because we don't have the facts. And to my mind, at the moment, where we know what we are, where we are, we know what the situation is. If we don't like Sadiq Khan, we can vote him out. And that's what we've got to do.
Okay. Margaret, a reference there to Sadiq Khan, obviously Labour Party. I don't know if you want to write a reply or respond to that. I believe they said that, well, Simon is advocating we want to escape Sadiq Khan. Would you agree with that, or you've got 30 seconds plus your standard answer?
Well, I'm very happy with Sadiq Khan and all the work he has done for London. So no, I certainly wouldn't want to escape him. Neither would Labour want to escape London. We are about coming together. We're not about division. And I mean, do we all want to lose our train passes? I should think most people in this audience do have that benefit. So no, I think the answer is definitely no for Labour.
Well, I suppose Nigel Farage as president's leaving things. Obviously, we were promised a great Brexit. We're still waiting for the sunlit uplands. I'm not sure people have found it. For winners, they're quite quiet about Brexit. No one wants to talk about it anymore. But we know it's absolutely detrimental for us, for our economy, and it's not helping. We have to make sure we join the customs union at least to help businesses. So he always seems to be wanting to leaving things. He wants to leave the European Court of Human Rights. Now he wants to leave London, and he obviously asked him about any plans. He has got no plans, so he's very thin on detail. He always wants to leave things, but he doesn't leave a plan behind. Absolutely no, we're not leaving London. We would lose funding from the GLA. I mentioned earlier youth funding as well. There's loads of money coming in from Sadiq Khan for youth centres. Absolutely essential, so we need to stay in London.
Our answer is very simple. No, we would not support a referendum, but we would not support Bromley leaving London. We believe London is a great city, and we believe that a referendum would only cause divisiveness, and that is something in Bromley that I don't think we should necessarily accept or tolerate. We also have to think about the benefits that we would lose out if we were to leave London. Freedom passes, zip cards for our children, TfL buses, the Met Police. All of these things are really important to London, to Bromley, and to Pets Wood. And we have to think the cost of leaving London would be immense. It would be a catastrophic failure. And the benefits we have within London are some things that we should celebrate, and they're definitely worth keeping. Thank you.
So there you go. I think we're staying. Thanks for our candidates. Okay, we have come to the end of our questions. With just 5 minutes left, we're going to have a closing statement from each party. We've obviously covered a lot of ground today, a lot of different areas. But I thank the candidates for their responses. And this is an opportunity just to sum up, and the candidates have 1 minute each. And the Liberal Democrats are to go first. Thank you, Ben.
Your vote matters so much. We know what would happen if reform elected to local government. Projections show Bromley Council flipping to no overall control. And we know 2 senior Bromley Conservative councillors have already defected to Reform UK. A vote for the Conservatives could mean a vote for Reform Bromley Council. Please consider your vote. Look around and judge Liberal Democrats on our community focus record elsewhere. Don't take our word for it. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch said in 2025, a Lib Dem is someone who is good at fixing their church roof and people in their community like them. Thank you very much.
Okay, Conservatives may be next. You have a right to reply as well. Apparently, a vote for the Conservatives will get reform. So you can respond to that, plus do your closing statement.
Of course, a vote for reform will get reform in. If you want to keep common sense control, you should stick with the Conservatives, and I'll just explain why. We are a flexible and pragmatic group of local Conservatives, and we don't just wait for things to happen. We are proactive, whether that be getting the police to do community speed watch, reporting graffiti, or getting our hands dirty by cleaning drains or road signs. We've been loyal to Pettsford Knoll for many years, and I know that George, as our third candidate, would be loyal to us too. We stand for continued good use of scarce resources, protecting our green spaces from development, looking after and enhancing our residential areas, supporting our police and community to deal with antisocial behaviour, and making our roads safer through pragmatic measures. That is what we have done. That is what we do now. And that is what we will continue to do with your support. Thank you.
As Green Party candidate, my aim is to give those a voice who feel unheard. Even after decades of political failure, we still have choices about what to prioritize, choice about how services are delivered, choices about whether to simply manage problems or to solve them. We believe in a council that listens. Our aim is to tackle inequalities in our society. We reject any cuts or austerity measures that disproportionately affect the poor and most disadvantaged. Instead, we believe that we have to invest in our communities. We have to invest in our young people's future by creating inclusive, vibrant, and welcoming spaces. We will take on the cost of living crisis so that no one's left behind. We also take the climate emergency seriously, as those disadvantaged will be again affected more by any climate impacts. However, we use this emergency to build a healthier, fairer borough where everyone has a good quality of life. This is based on our core belief that everyone deserves to be heard. Thank you for listening and considering voting for me. Thank you.
Well, I hope I've been able to set out something of Labour's vision for the community, even though I couldn't quite fit it all in. So, two Labour councillors were elected in St Paul's Cray at the last election. And one voter said to me, they've done more in 2 years than the Conservatives did in 10. Now, Gareth, Tim and myself would be delighted to be given the opportunity to make a similar difference in this ward. Labour is already making a difference, even though we don't have any councillors here. Councillor Forthrop has already mentioned Charlotte Grierson, who was a candidate at the last election. She's now moved out of the ward. But it was thanks to her campaign to provide a pedestrian crossing outside Crofton School that it's going ahead. She did all the heavy lifting to get it going. And Orpington Labour was also among the first to object to the proposed redevelopment of the Walnuts. Certainly. So please, thank you for listening, and please consider voting Labour.
Thank you. So that concludes the questions tonight. Thank you for those questions. It's all over to you now for the 7th of May or earlier. You do postal vote. I appreciate the excellent behaviour from both the audience and up here. I've not had to use the gavel at all tonight, which has been great. As I mentioned earlier, we have got some refreshments in the room here. So we've got some wine, we've got tea, the biscuits, and just some soft drinks as well. So I think the candidates will be staying behind for a little bit, hopefully. So if you've not been able to get a question or you want clarification on something, I'm sure they'll be very happy to oblige. But thank you very much and have a good evening.
Stephen.
Thank you.
We do appreciate this, and we also appreciate what the Knoll Residents Association does in organising this affair. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. How do I stop it?